So hey guys, this is a new VN that I downloaded yesterday, but I didn't really feel the motivation to do anything with it until today. So now doing it now. It's 4:59 p.m. So basically 5 p.m. on the 23rd of June. And right off the bat, I have to say, this looks extraordinarily high professional in general. Like they've all fucking crazy shit. This is a fucking first build. This is a first build, and it looks that good. Wow. Hello. Oh, okay. Um, this is fucking base. They're drawing their own artwork and everything. They have their own backgrounds and Victor. Okay, I don't know who I'm playing, but okay. And checkmate, I win. It's not fair. You're so much better at this game than I am. Oh, Cedric, you can't be good at everything. Besides, you did fine today. A worthy effort indeed. This is for you to say. You're just one. Cedric folded his arms angrily. Oh, this is weird. Oh, this is weird. Okay. Don't see much of this. Like, the only other VN that's actually third person like this is Arches. Neat. Cedric folded his arms angrily as he turned to look the other way from where his friend Victor was seated. The two kids rested in a shady spot in the large garden stretched out behind Cedric's family home. Chess match had taken up much of the afternoon. By now, the sun was beginning to set, soaking everything with the beautiful orange light. The small lake, the various trees, garden follies, and statues had an almost magical look to them, as if they were friendly spirits gently watching over the two. Come on, you have other talents. Such as? You're a great artist. Seen your sketches, they're absolutely fantastic. What you do for your dad was amazing. You're just saying that. Seriously, still couldn't hang in the war with his bed. I really don't know what fucking voices to give these guys because the outfits they're wearing would suggest nobility, but I don't know. There was a pause as Cedric smiled at Victor's kind words. Thanks, I really appreciate it, though I know my parents would not agree with you one bit. Parents are wrong about a lot of things. Art is one of your greatest talents. Being pedantic is another. Oh, shut up. Two laughed as Cedric got up and stretched a little before gazing towards the setting sun. The garden looks so beautiful today. Cedric was only half listening and turned to face the fox a few seconds later. You know, it's not fair my family is as old as. But I'm going to make sure you're given half this property at least. I don't know what I'm giving in this voice. I don't fucking know why, but oh well, here we go, I guess. I don't know, I'm getting to like a semi-Nick voice. Victor let out a slightly melancholy chuckle. Don't make promises you can't keep, you rascal. I meant it. You're my best friend. I'll give you everything I have if I could. I'd love to see your family live in a home as lavish as mine. It's yeah. Yeah, people like this totally didn't. People like this totally existed in this time period. You're portraying here. I'm assuming because the outfits, the fucking wig that dude is wearing, or is that his hair? I don't know. But like, yeah, I'm getting strong like 1700s vibes. I don't like 1700s France. So yeah, well, I might be foolish, but I still believe in miracles. Victor got up, walking to where Cedric was standing, and gently held his friend's hand. Promise you'll never leave me, Vic. What? Promise me you'll always be here with me no matter what. Where is this coming from? Of course I will. I know I just need to hear you say it. Please, Vic. You have my word. I'll be by your side forever, Cedric. Sound of some distant fiddling reached their ears. The ball Cedric's family was hosting that evening had already begun, and the chatter of the guests could also be heard coming from the house. Oh boy, they're gonna come out here and be like, "Ew, what are you doing with this plebeian?" I should be off now. My parents will want me to greet some of the guests. That's fine. My bro, my dad will be out laying the table to get the food out of the kitchen. See you tomorrow then. I swear I'm fucking messing up these accents. Whatever. Victor smiled reassuringly as they started making their way back towards the house at a rapid pace. See you tomorrow. And with that, the fact was off, soon fading out of view into the dimming light of the evening. Cedric! Cedric, listen to me. We're worried about you. You should be ashamed of yourself. Look at me. Yep, knew it. Knew it, Don't you dare go talk to that plebeian. Your, family name insert here, I guess. God. You're never to see him here again as long as you live in this house, that's clear. Fucking scumbag. Have you no consideration for your parents? No, I don't. Fuck off. How many times have we talked like this? Oh, for nothing. Hope you'll take our advice by now. Oh, boo-hoo. Cedric, you've never listened to us. We've warned you time and time again. You've had it. Oh boy, oh no. If you keep wasting your life away and mingling among people like it, then we have no choice. Oh boy. As of now, you are no longer welcome in this home or part of this. Wow. Wow. Cunt. Maybe we should have done this long ago. Perhaps the real world will knock some sense into you. Now get out. Cedric suddenly opened his eyes, startled by the loud noise he heard. Looked around worriedly, wondering where it might have come from. Then noticed the mug next to him and realized that the noise he'd heard was actually just someone slamming into the table. Lysander, oh boy. Cedric, hey, are you alright? Cedric jolted as he felt someone tugging his right sleeve. Mostly overcome by thoughts and memories he often did his best not to think about. Sat still for a while, staring numbly at the lion sitting beside him. Are you alright? Lion's tone became slightly more insistent as Cedric noticed how ridiculous he must have looked everyone sitting nearby. I'm fine, sorry, I was quite a little bit there. I was just thinking of something. Whatever it is, can it but wait until tomorrow? Tonight's supposed to be a jolly occasion. Do try this, not spoiled by being all moody. Okay, this is fucking cool. Like, wow. Hand-drawn backgrounds and everything, that's so fucking cool. Cedric nodded. It was as if he'd been woken from a deep slumber, but everything was quickly becoming clear once again. Glanced around the tavern as the innkeeper passed by. Looked over at the other tables where folks were sitting, making merry with their meals and drinks. Cedric had only been to this tavern a few times in his life, and that had been many years ago. But still, the atmosphere felt oddly familiar. Not quite cozy, but quite laid back and cheerful. The lanterns hanging from the wooden beams, the old stone walls, as well as the wooden barrels over the counter, all gave the place a rustic feel. Still felt slightly uneasy, though, and a bit of envy got the best of him as he gazed at their patrons sitting at their tables and enjoying themselves. Finally, he set his eyes in the shape of his friend Lysander. By now, the lion had gone back to chatting and drinking with the two friends he'd brought along for some company. What the heck just happened? Cedric was adamant, wanting to spoil the mood and soon joined in the playful banter. I'll swear if that bloke at sight won't fall if somebody want to drink, he'll fall off his chair. It is in good countenance if you keep this up, Bill. Isn't it your 5th pint? For beer that counts as number 1. How you doing, Cedric? You seem a bit quiet just now. Oh, I'm fine. That is Cedric for you, always so glum at the worst possible time. I didn't decide to. You know what? Never mind. You're still staying at Lysander's aunt's place? Since his parents kicked him out, yes. Cedric Scouters laughed. Lie helped me out. Luckily, his aunt's a lovely old lady. Which the least I could do, considering the blame for the whole endeavor falls upon me. What do you mean? Well, you fellows know I'm not the best at saving money. Cedric is of a similar disposition, and his parents got tired of it. Though I see, you're lucky your folks are actually are, or you might be in a comparable situation. Pfft, no need to lecture, Jack. Cedric's already good enough at that. There was one thing Cedric didn't like about Lysander. It was the fact he didn't know when to ease off the insults, even if it was all in good fun. But overall, he was a pleasant person to be around, and Cedric was very grateful to him for his assistance, since he'd essentially become homeless. The last few months had been rough for him, but Lysander had been there to help him through thick and thin. Before he could lose himself to his thoughts again, he focused back on the conversation at hand, which had been turned toward drinking games. This one in particular was a favorite amongst the group, giving each other dares that would normally be simple if they weren't all so drunk. Cedric, your turn. All right, Jack, throw around the table 3 times. Sure. Everybody began to slur his words slightly, all the more reason it would be funny to see him try and run around in a circle. That's 2 times, Cedric, be nasty. Cedric simply cannot be nasty. It goes against his sweet and caring nature. Well, someone's in love. Jack was still around the table and almost lost his balance after saying that, much to the amusement of everyone. Lysander, however, seemed to go a bit more red in the face at the comment. Your turn now, Bill. Very well, then. La. I should have known you chose me. What sort of Herculean task must I accomplish this time? You like Cedric so much, I want to see you kiss him. Jack fell into his chair after completing his task. Oh, that's a good one. The color suddenly seemed to leave Lysander's face as he sat there in shock. And to collect himself, however, and crossed his arms angrily. That's silly and immature, and I'm not going to do it. Go on, Lyle. Since when were you concerned about being immature? Shut up, Bill. I'm not doing this. Think of another one. We're gonna grow a little tense, and Cedric tried to alleviate the thickening atmosphere. It's alright, Lysander. It's just a game. It's disgusting, that's what it is. Oh man, that's some sort of silly girl you think could make fun of. Not even a kiss on the cheek? That's perfectly acceptable. You good sport. At this point, Lysander's face seemed to grow even hotter. What was it from embarrassment or anger? The boys couldn't tell. Fine. Quickly leaned and gave Cedric the lightest kiss on the cheek. So light, in fact, Cedric almost didn't feel the lion touch him at all. He looks like Scar. It looks like fucking Scar. Others cheered and had a good laugh, while Lysander looked somewhat relieved, but still very uneasy. I cannot do that voice. I guess it's just Jeremy Irons' regular speaking voice. Whatever. Others cheered and had a good laugh, while Lysander looked somewhat relieved and still very uneasy. Happy now, you perverts! Your turn, lie. You earned it. Lysander let a sigh and allowed that familiar spark of mischief from earlier in the evening to return to his eyes. Very well, I want you to do the same to Bill. Receiving seemed to fly by as the group passed the time joking, drinking, and enjoying themselves. Slightly tense moment had soon been forgotten, and Lysander was at ease being his usual boisterous self again. Suddenly the innkeeper told him with clothing that they finally got up from their table and clumsily made their way towards the door. Holy shit, again. This is fucking cool. Hand-drawn backgrounds, everybody. More VNs need to do this shit. The streets were quiet and deserted as the friends made their way home. Bill and Jack's homes were closest, whilst Lysander and Victor had to get to the other side of town to reach theirs. It wasn't a very long walk, though, as the town was on the smaller side, bigger than any village close by, but nothing compared to larger towns further east. They were walking to one of the wealthier neighborhoods, which had a few old houses scattered here and there, but mostly consisted of buildings that have been redecorated or entirely rebuilt in the last 100 years or so. Cedric often felt that was a bit of a shame, as the old Tudor houses had a certain charm the newer buildings were lacking entirely. And there's still some. Street was also lit by rows of hanging lanterns, which the town had been gifted by some wealthy visitor many years before. These were beloved by everyone as they helped make the whole place look unique and even slightly oriental. More importantly, they also helped keep the streets safer at night. "We are going this way, you drunkards!" Lion gestured toward a side street as neither Bill nor Jack seemed to realize exactly where they were headed. In fact, they were all completely drunk and heading in the wrong direction, including the ever-confident Lysander. "Oh yes, that home is that way." "Is it?" Others strugglously took the side street. "It is, well funny, you can't change my mind." I swear, I was trying to fucking... God damn it. Jack tried to say something, but the slurred sounds that came out of his mouth were not easy to interpret. "You're quite fond of him, aren't you, Bill?" They just get out here to loosen it up. Especially a certain line, I know." "Oh, please, of course I've a hard time loosening up when asked to kiss one of my closest friends. Not a tail-raising pervert, oh boy." "Oh boy, great." "It's a joke, lie. Not expecting you to murder Cedric." Cedric didn't get many dares." "Yeah, and easy on him tonight." Okay, this is fucking cool. Oh, there's someone standing here, isn't there? I can kind of make it out. Shit. The group's pace quickened a bit as they started walking down a slope. Without even noticing it, they had left the wealthier neighborhood behind them and had reached one of the poorer parts of the town. Streets were narrower and the buildings more run down. The rows of lanterns were also gone and been replaced by a few irregular solitary lights hanging from one of the sides of some of the houses. Overall, the atmosphere felt much less safe than they were walking a few minutes before. "Hey, Cedric." "Yes, what?" I dare you go into that dark alley over there." Santa pointed directly immense and began to giggle slightly. "And why should I do that?" "'Cause it would be funny." Cedric gazed at the alley for a moment as his brain decided what was the best thing to do. "All right, Mr. Comedian, I will." Cedric slowly made his way towards the alley, determined to prove something to his friend. What that something was hadn't made itself entirely clear, however, and it began to hiss as it got closer. "Come on, you can do it." "Come on, you chicken." Something didn't seem right. Cedric came into a halt and glanced worriedly at his friend before finally stepping in the alley out of sight. And if Cedric had turned back then and there, perhaps nothing might have happened that night. Yeah, but fucking knew it, of course. I'm sorry, is this some kind of fucking Assassin's Creed bullshit? Because what the fuck is this? In fact, none of their friends would have encountered the masked figure waiting for them in the shadows. Lysander and the others stood still for him as they waited for Cedric to reappear. "Hey, Cedric, you alright?" "Why isn't he coming back?" "I don't know." "Where is he?" A few seconds later, Cody finally reemerged from the darkness. They were very relieved to see him. "It was such a fright." Someone else was with him, and this someone was holding a dagger to his throat. Oh, fucking shit. Oh, it's not Assassin's Creed bullshit, of course it isn't. I mean, I was kind of like, what, that'd be kind of cool, but nah. "Your money, pretty boys, and nobody gets hurt." The group stopped in their tracks. The figure walked up to them. There was a short and awkward silence, but began looking around worriedly. None of them were sure what to do, let alone if this was real and not some drunken hallucination. "I said your money if you want your friend to make it home tonight." Banner's tone became more like a growl. Cedric squirmed visibly began to press into his neck, his anxiety rising by the second. "Please, guys, do as he says!" It's the first to move, taking a step forward and finding with something in his pocket. "Nice and easy, boy, just like that." I reflected upon the metal that Bill withdrew from his pocket, illuminating not coins, but something with a handle. "Let him go, you low-life bastard!" attempt of drunken bravery, Bill grabbed a small pocket knife and rushed forward towards the aggressor. Bennett let out a sigh at this, shaking his head. They always had to make things difficult. As Bill got closer, the bandit sidestepped out of the way with Cedric. Oh, come on, stop doing that game. Fortunately, he failed to take into account the drunken sway of the man. The pocket knife's arc turned unexpectedly, slicing Cedric's upper arm. Bennett released his grip and used his now free moment to grab Bill and swing him back towards the others, stumbling briefly before falling to roll into their feet. Ugh! I can't fucking do that shit right now. Sorry. Nope. Cedric fell to his knees, grabbing his arm, and he yelled in pain. Of course he did. He got fucking cut. You don't need to explain that. Christ. Bill managed to get up and decided that making a run for it was now the best option. He was quickly followed by his stumbling Jack. Fucking traitors. Lysander stood there for a few moments as he looked around with sheer terror in his face. Bandit put his arm around Cedric and forced him up again, returning his dagger to the coyote's neck once more. Your money or I'll slit your friend's throat! Fucking bitch. Okay. Lion was off like the wind before the coyote managed to finish his sentence. Lysander, hey, help me! Lysander turned to glance at his friend but showed no sign of wanting to slow down. The two shared one last look, their eyes filled with terror at the thought that it was the last time they'd ever see each other. Lysander also had a look of regret about as he abandoned his friend, knowing the bandit would certainly kill him. Lion soon disappeared from view and was swallowed by the dark of the night. Bennett let go of Cedric, who fell into the ground. Suddenly he paced up and down close to where Cedric was crouched. Panting and clutching his arms, blood started to pour out from the wound. He's feeling dizzy with each passing moment. Everything started to grow dim. Well, that failed spectacularly. Fuck! Bennett threw one of his daggers around in frustration and let out a long sigh. Then he turned to Cedric. At least I got one of you. Now you'll be a good boy and keep quiet. Dan reached for his victim's pockets, daggers still held with precision towards his throat. There was a moment then, and the bandit froze as the moon reappeared from behind the clouds, allowing him to get a better look at said victim. What the? Cedric, is it you? But by now, Cedric was not able to answer as he felt his eyelids grow heavy and everything around him quickly transitioned to pitch black. Shit. Pleasant smell filled Cedric's nose, grabbing his attention as soon as he opened his eyes. It seemed to be in an old building that looked like it had been decades since anyone had called it a proper home. Sunlight shone through the broken windows and large cracks that ran along the wall. By now, Cedric was fully awake and was starting to become worried as his mind began racing, the events of the night prior catching up with him. Where was he? Why did that bandit spare him the night before? How did he know who he was? Tried to move with clear mind on his right arm as soon as he did. Oh! Which was still quite painful, however, he immediately noticed it, However, he immediately noticed it had been tended to, and someone had carefully bandaged it up. He was lying on an old straw bed, and his back had been propped up against the wall. He caught a whiff of what smelled like boiled potatoes. Hey, is anybody there? What's going on? Whoa there, everything is okay, don't panic. But from the previous night, walked in the room, was no longer wearing his mask, and Cedric got a good look at his face for the first time. It was a fox about his own age, with a long, thin muzzle and flowing dark hair. Cedric couldn't believe his eyes and sat there in silence for a moment. Are you all right? Victor, is that you? Cedric, it is you after all. Fox smiled gleefully to put down a plate with a couple of boiled potatoes next to where Cedric was lying. It's nothing much, I'm afraid, but this is the food I had. I did manage to get some good bread the other day, but I finished it yesterday evening. Sorry. What are you doing here? I mean, where is here? Well, it's fairly simple. This is where I live these days, and this is where I stay when I'm in town. Used to even I say I would mock a couple of drunks, but that didn't go too well, as you know. Then I realized Then I realized one of them, the one who ended up getting stabbed, was you. Sorry about that. It's okay, I'm just taking all this in. Of course, you'll need a moment to gather your thoughts. Cedric was quite dumbfounded. He could never have anticipated this. It was as if he was dreaming. He almost felt like pinching himself to see if this was actually occurring. All my best to try and just have some casual conversation for the sake of it rather than just sitting there like an idiot. How are you doing? As well as can be, I guess. Just getting by any way I can. What's about you? How are you doing? Obviously not too well right now, but you know what I mean. Not bad, just living my usual and slightly boring life. Following more silence, as Cedric realized small talk wasn't going to get them anywhere anytime soon. He glanced away from Victor for a moment to gather courage to put what he was thinking into words. Victor, you've become a bandit? How did that happen? Victor remained quiet for what seemed like quite a while. That's a story I'd rather be telling your parents about than you. What do you mean? Are they directly responsible for... No, it's not like that. It's... After they forced my family to leave the estate, we had no money at all. My father began looking for employment elsewhere, but it wasn't easy, so I resorted to stealing. It went well at first, but I should have known it wouldn't last. One day I was caught and they threw me in jail for 2 excruciatingly long years. During that time, my dad found a job. Once I was free again, I found out my family wanted nothing more to do with me. Such I've had to make my living this way. So yeah, I moved from town to town, but I've always stayed in and around this area for now. Cedric had often wondered what had happened to Victor, but actually hearing the whole story from the Fox for the first time was quite a gut punch. Felt awful about it. Worse than that, he felt completely powerless as he hadn't been able to do anything to help his friend when he needed him most. Victor, I had no idea. I haven't seen you since then before my parents forced you to leave. They want you to know I was completely against it. You're my best friend. I still can't believe I'm actually talking to you. It is a strange situation, isn't it? Hawk smiled gently as he began eating one of his share of potatoes. What must you have thought of me? When you recognized me, a drunken idiot whose life is in shambles, I'm ashamed of myself. Oh, come now, you've got nothing to be ashamed of. You seem like exactly the same lovability I used to know. The lovability always got you into trouble, you mean? Remember the time we stole all my father's wigs? How could I forget? That was your idea, you rascal. Yeah, and you went along with it. We weren't always up to no good, though. Sometimes I was busy beating you at chess. Hey, I won a fair amount of matches. Victor gazed at Kate with an amused but skeptical look. Alright, more like 2, but I still won. What about art? Have you kept up with the drawing? Cedric looked away as if he were slightly embarrassed. Victor brought up the subject. I gave that up years ago now. That's a shame. You were seriously talented. Two kept chatting as they ate together. Cedric had almost forgotten just how close he and Victor were. And it didn't take long for either of them to feel comfortable talking about anything. Cedric couldn't help but feeling a sense of shame through all of this. Victor had been through so much, yet here he was, making the best of what he had. Cedric, on the other hand, seemingly squandered away his life as well as his fortune, was left with almost nothing. He needed to turn things around, he needed to fix his past mistakes, and he needed to get his act together. After talk for what quickly became more than a few hours, Cedric was doing much better, and felt ready to head home. He told Victor as much, and the Fox nodded in agreement. Yeah, you should head home before anyone gets too worried. I might have to ask you a favor first, though. You're a great friend, and I trust you dearly, so I must make sure no one can find this hideout, so... He said for a moment, looking slightly embarrassed. I'm going to have to blindfold you for a bit. Though, I understand, of course, just I can't guarantee I won't die walking down those stairs. I'll make sure you don't need a premature end, don't worry. A few moments later, Cedric was standing in a narrow alley close by as Victor took off the cloth he tied around his friend's head. So I guess it's goodbyes for now, then. I think so. It's been quite unexpected, but absolutely lovely seeing you again, Vi. I hope we'll see each other again soon. I somehow doubt it, but hey, never say never. Goodbye, Victor. Take care. She began walking away fairly uneven pace, as part of him desperately wished he could stay there. You too? He gazed at as his friend grew smaller and eventually turned a corner and disappeared from sight. You too. He smiled to himself as his heart sank at the thought of being separated from Cedric again after so many years spent apart. Cedric was busy, was walking at a fast pace as he thought about everything that had just happened. Felt reinvigorated after seeing Victor, and although he hadn't spoken of this to the fox, like he would be able to turn his life around and prove to everyone, including himself, that he wasn't completely useless. He was on his way to his parents' house. This was another spur-of-the-moment decision, but he felt like he needed to have a proper talk with them. However, as he kept walking, a few less optimistic thoughts started creeping up on him. How was he going to prove his parents he could turn things around? Would they even want to talk to him in the first place? He also began thinking back on that day many years before when Victor's family had been forced to leave his home. Cedric's father said it was because it wasn't right for the son of a nobleman and the son of a servant to be as close friends as Cedric and Victor were. And they were most certainly the closest of friends. There was a time when they'd spend most of their waking hours together. As he kept walking, Cedric couldn't help but wonder if there was some other reason why his parents had been so worried about their friendship. I swear, I cannot get over the amount of just effort that must have gone into this. Fucking incredible. Soon he reached the old building, whose imposing appearance grew more menacing with each step. He took towards it, reached the door, and stood still for a moment. There was nobody around, and only the faint sound of a cart passing by in the distance broke the overbearing silence. There was a damp feel in the air as the sky grew more and more overcast. Okay, Cedric, it's now or never. All you got to do is knock. Just knock. That's... I know, it may seem really fucking stupid to be pointing this out, but, like, this level of detail is so unheard of in game, in VNs. It's so amazing. He automatically raised up his right arm, immediately remembering it was still quite sore. Ouch! Damn it! He paused as he gathered his courage. Then that moment turned into a few minutes, and soon the few minutes became far too many. He slowly lowered his arm and began moving away from the door, looking utterly defeated. I knew it was going to go this way. What was I thinking? As if they'd take me in after everything that's happened. Cedric let out an aggressive sigh as he quickened his pace and walked in the direction of Lysander's aunt's house. As soon as he set his foot inside, he was greeted by the familiar flowery perfume the entire house emanated. Aunt Jane was sitting in her chair, having one of her many daily cups of tea. She didn't move, but certainly noticed Cedric's arrival. Is that you, dear? Good afternoon, madame. I don't fucking know. Where have you been? I was starting to get worried. Cedric knew she actually didn't really want to hear her reply to that, as the poor lady couldn't concentrate for very long. But he tried answering anyway. Well, a lot of things happened since last night, and let's just say I tried to. That's nice, dear. Have you seen the blue china bowl I use for soups? I'm sure one of the servants has nicked it. No, I haven't. Ron sat down in his usual chair and tilted his head up toward the ceiling. Margaret's stepsister's cousin husband came to visit me today. I genuinely have no idea what you're talking about. Cedric wasn't doing a good job at hiding his rising anger at the current situation he was in. He's lovely, and he gave me two beautiful candlesticks like the ones your grandfather used to own. Madame, I'm not your nephew, I'm his friend Cedric, remember? Oh, of course, Cedric, dear. From what I thought, Lysander was here with us. Speaking of Lysander, where is he? He told me he was visiting his parents this morning. Did he mention me at any point? I can't recall, dear. Cedric snored sarcastically at the thought of what kind of person would leave their friend in danger and even bother to find out what happened to them. Lysander was such an inconsiderate, egocentric prick, and the Coda began to wonder why on earth he was still friends with him. At that precise moment, the door swung open and Lion himself walked in. "Is lunch ready?" "Haven't you already eaten, dear? I had lunch a few hours ago." Lysander was taking off his overcoat and hadn't even noticed Cedric. "Well, I have not, so I'd appreciate some food." All right, Lizzie." Jenny got up from her chair and headed towards the kitchen. "I told you not to call me Cedric, what on happened to you? You're dirty and bandaged up." "Oh, that's a laugh. You're asking me what happened after you left me at the mercy of an armed bandit." What was I supposed to do? Run your arms and get stabbed to death?" "Calling for help would have been nice." Cedric raised his voice, started to get up from his chair. "Look, I panicked, okay, and I'm glad you came home safe." "Well, you certainly didn't bother to find out I was safe until now." "Shut up, Cedric, the whole world doesn't revolve around you." "No, you bastard. If you actually asked me how I was doing what happened, I could tell a really interesting story, but no, just Cedric overreacting as usual." Lysander didn't miss a beat, picking up what Cedric had said. "What interesting story?" Cedric paused, stared furiously at the wooden floor, worried he might have said too much. "Come on, Cedric, I am curious after all." Probably would have been safer not to tell Lysander anything, but Cedric thought it was best to be honest with him. That was a bit of an excuse, though, because in reality all he wanted was to be able to tell someone else what had happened to him the night before. "I'll keep it short, as I don't feel like talking much right now. The bandit turns to be someone I used to know very well. An old friend of mine." "What?" "It's no big deal. He was the son of one of the servants that used to work for my parents. We were great childhood friends." "You were friends with the son of a servant? My apologies, Cedric, but this is ridiculous. What could you possibly have in common with the likes of someone like that?" "Friendship doesn't distinguish between classes, Lai. We're all people, and you know that." "That might be true, but there is a reason why the poor are poor and we are not. It is their inclination, for they've worked hard enough they wouldn't be just like us, and you mingling with someone like that worries me a lot." "Fuck you." "You know what? Why don't we talk about this other time? I'm not in the mood for your stupid ideas." "All right, mister, I spend my time with the comfort, but cannot spend more than 2 seconds with my friend. Have it your way." Sandra stomped off toward the kitchen. Cedric sat back in his chair, staring at the ceiling once more. The more he thought about it, the more he realized just how much he actually liked Lysander, and to hear the Lion talk about his greatest friend so dismissively certainly didn't help. Most of the day went by as Cedric kept to himself and his thoughts, mainly how much he found Lysander annoying and how he'd blamed him for getting him into his current situation. Cedric had never been good at saving money after he met the Lion, and after he met the Lion, the problem had only gotten worse, to the point where his parents ended up forcing him to leave and hadn't sent him any money since. Now Cedric concluded that for some reason he'd been hoping Lysander would be a good replacement for Victor, which was clearly not the case. Lysander was snobbish, petty, and selfish. Victor, on the other hand, still seemed just as kind, caring, as sweet as he used to be years ago. Eventually, Cedric spent most of the evening thinking about the fox and just how much he'd like to see him again, to the point that he wanted to become an obsession. But he knew he had to see Victor. Cedric spent the next few days searching the town streets, hoping to come across Victor by a miracle. He had no lead, and the fact that Victor moved from town to town and had spent most of his life in hiding certainly didn't help. He kept asking people this masked man, but still nothing. Eventually met a wealthy lady who claimed she'd been mugged by what seemed to be Victor. She saw Konoman even a few weeks before. Unfortunately, he'd been so scared she couldn't really give any other details. He also spoke to one of the town guards, who told him they'd been searching for this criminal's hideout for months yet hadn't gotten anywhere yet. Cedric ticked himself as he wished he'd more attention to where the old building was while he was there. Light was starting to fade as Cedric walked past the tavern. He hadn't been there since the evening he met Victor, but seeing as he'd gotten nowhere yet, he figured he might as well have a quick drink there. Perhaps he could ask the innkeeper if he knew or had heard anything about the bandit. And as soon as he was inside, he noticed a large "Wanted" poster stuck to the door whilst he was closing it, the image fully matched Victor's masked appearance. "Wanted, dead or alive, any person that catches this criminal shall receive great compensation from His Majesty the King." Cedric scoffed slightly, as if the king cared or even knew about some bandit in a small town. Walked up to the counter where the innkeeper was serving some beer to a few other customers. Once he finished, he turned toward Cedric. "Evening, sir, what can I get for you?" "A large cider, please." But the poster's innkeeper filled up his glass. "You recognize that criminal?" "Yes. I mean, it's complicated. I've been searching for him these last few days." "Oh, honestly, that great compensation that poster mentions, I wouldn't bother. Don't specify the actual price. Do you know anything about him? Has anyone told you anything that might help me find him?" I'm afraid I have to disappoint you. I've heard surprising little of him." Pause for a moment. "Although I have heard a few clients of mine were ambushed after leaving this place mere days ago." Yeah, it was one of them." "Really? I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you." "It's fine, don't worry." "Want to get in with him?" Cedric looks like confused for a moment. "Oh, no. Well, not exactly." "Alright, some business after all." The coyote had soon finished his pint, paid the innkeepers out in the streets once more. It was dark now, and the street was quiet, much like the night when they'd been walking out with Ascender and his friends. For a moment, it felt like he was still wandering along the alleys with them, and that none of the events that had followed had actually taken place. Cedric marched on. He turned a corner and thought at that precise moment he caught a glimpse of something. No, someone. He was sure he saw a figure on one of the rooftops that looked like Victor. It had to be him. But as soon as he noticed it was gone, everything was sound and still, just like it had been a few seconds before he saw the figure. Could have been anything, perhaps a large bird. Cedric silently concluded his mind was trying to play tricks on him, and it was probably best if he got home and had himself a good night's sleep. Then he felt a hand on his shoulder. "Hello there, pretty boy. I thought I recognized you." Cedric turned around excitedly. "Victor!" "Shh! Keep it down!" Victor clapped a hand over Cedric's mouth to quiet him. "You silly dog, I want a criminal, remember?" "Sorry, I've been looking for you. It's wonderful seeing you again. I've been thinking about you a lot these past few days." There was a silence when he was the idea that his friend had been thinking about him so much, especially because he had been doing the exact same thing. Suddenly he became self-conscious of how close he and Cedric were sitting to each other and how his body was pressed close to the coyote's. This was probably way too close for either of them, he thought. He went over him and took a few steps back, brushing a coat and gathering his composure. "Likewise, Cedric. Look, why don't we talk some more private? I'm sure we still have a lot to say to each other." "Of course." A short time later, back in Victor's hideout, we're sitting in a room Cedric was starting to become quite familiar with. Victor lit a few candles and the atmosphere was unexpectedly cozy. Cedric was on the old straw bed again, whilst the fox pulled up the only chair in the room. "So, what's on your mind? Why were you looking for me?" "Well, the main reason is I really want to see you again, but I also need someone I could talk to. Basically, I'm stuck. I'm in a bad situation, one I can really count on, and seeing you made me realize how much I've lost." She was quiet for a moment and scoffed. "How much you've lost?" "Cedric, I'm a wanted criminal having to spend my life in hiding. No, my parents don't want to see me ever again, and I most likely will never make get out of the mess I'm in. You were the son of a nobleman who's just having a moment of crisis during his perfect life, with a steady income, a family he can return to, and friends he can rely on. Not to be rude, but I don't think you really understand the situation. My parents kicked me out of the house months ago. I have no money, and to avoid sleeping on the streets, I've had to stay at my friend Lysander's aunt's house. Well, I thought he was with my friend, at least. The last few days I've noticed I don't like him at all. Hell, he's one of the people responsible for my downfall, always inviting me to parties, balls, gambling houses, and so on. After all, he can spend all the money he wants. His family's the richest in the whole county. I couldn't afford this luxury, and I was a fool thinking there'd be no consequences to my actions. Now I'm stuck, just like you. The only reason it doesn't look like it is because of my appearance and fancy clothes." It was a very satisfying note to end on, but Cedric couldn't really think of anything else to add, so he sat there in silence as he waited for Victor to say something. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that, and you're right. I had no idea what you'd been going through. I'll be honest with you, Cedric, I felt some resentment towards you these last few days. That was because I didn't know what had happened to you, and I just naively assumed your life was perfect. I understand. I was too embarrassed to tell you about it the other day. He got up from his chair and slowly walked towards a door. He opened it, and Cedric got a glimpse of a small winding staircase beyond it. Follow me, I want to show you something. Cedric walked over where he was standing, and the two made their way up the stairs. Can I ask you something? Anything you like. I was thinking back on the day you left. We both know the main reason why that happened, but I couldn't help wondering if there was some other reason my parents didn't tell me about. Your thoughts interrupted as soon as it reached the top of the staircase. Cedric was surprised to see a large window that led onto the roof of the building, and beyond it a beautiful view of the whole moonlit town. He could now understand where they were, and this must have meant Victor trusted him enough to know he wasn't going to give away the location of his hideout. For a moment, Cedric felt very proud of himself. Wow, there really is something. Beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. He stepped into the roof and beckoned at his friend to follow him. Come on, I'll show you where I spend my nights most of the time. Cedric followed him almost instinctively, even though he had no idea where they were headed. I'm sorry, I forgot to answer what you were saying. Fleck suddenly sounded a bit nervous. Yes, I think there might have been another reason. You know, we were very close. I think they might have feared we were too close. That we were lovers. Cedric was completely taken by surprise. He'd never even entertained this thought. I suppose that makes sense. We were always together. Victor began walking again. Pretty much. Conversation grind to a halt for what seemed like way more than a few seconds. Two walked in the townhouse and reached the rooftop of a nearby building. Victor sat down against one of the chimneys, and Cedric did the same. God, this is so... God! Ah, I love it. I love that there's all of this art here. Like, seriously, man, that's... So what are you going to do now? I mean, in the next few days? I have no idea. I was thinking about leaving this town for good. I'm tired of wandering around the same places all the time. I want to head east toward bigger towns. Who knows, I might be lucky to be able to find some work there. Granted, I for myself some new clothes and change my opinions about my name, but it would be more than worth it for a fresh start. The moment Victor such a pain where he wasn't going to see Victor ever again. Trying to suppress the bubbling panic, he gathered his thoughts and answered the fox somewhat jokingly. Maybe I could run away with you. It's not like I have many options anyway. Victor looked at him, and suddenly his eyes seemed to light up. Actually, that idea isn't half bad. You could come with me. I'm happy to have a traveling companion. You mean it? Of course, life's way more fun when you've got some company. I have someone to talk to besides myself. And between the two of us, I've talked to him way too much anyway. No, Cedric was looking a bit uneasy. Was likely conflicted about the whole matter. He leant towards him and held his hand reassuringly. Look, think about it. If you decide you're serious and you want to come with me, meet me on the outskirts of town tomorrow night. Tomorrow? Cedric asked, even though he'd heard that the first time. I will. I need to think it through, but you have no idea how much I want to. So you spend another hour sitting there, quietly chatting, just enjoying each other's company and the beautiful view of the rooftops. Moments like these, Cedric thought, that made life really worth living. Don't tell me that's to be continued. Before the morning hours could begin, Victor found himself skulking through the darkened streets once more. He adjusted the mask on his face, careful to make sure it was tightly secured in place. Didn't need any additional risks for this job. This would be the last one he needed in order to prepare for the journey ahead. Victor drifted a hand down to his belts, triple checking to make sure the empty sack tucked into them was secured. This was the usual gear required for the days when muggings had gone badly, and he'd have to resort to stealing from the wealthier people's homes. He'd made a habit of not stealing from buildings in his hometown, but given this was his last day, here he'd reason to make it a particularly memorable one. People he visited deserved it more than any of his past victims, which is quite a feat given the fact he'd robbed many horrid individuals. So he's like a Robin Hood. One more time, just to be sure. Knife, dagger, rope, sack, this should be everything. But himself as he checked it all again, making sure he hadn't left anything behind. Yes, well done, Victor. Keep up the good work, you handsome devil. There were hints of sarcasm in his tone as he spoke, remembering a time when he'd planned a heist nearly perfectly and broke into the home of a gentleman, only to realize he'd left his sack behind. To be fair, that was one of his first ever attempts. Things are bound to go wrong when starting out. Didn't make any less humiliating having to lay out nothing but some pockets of silverware, though. Turned a corner and found himself greeted by the familiar flickering of the hanging street lanterns. He quickened his pace as his destination drew closer. If memory is correct, the wooden gate to the far right side of the house should be easy enough for me to jump. From there, I can sneak into the wine cellar. There are always a few windows open there to supposedly let it all air out. Bloody fools. Once inside, I head upstairs to finish the job. Ned himself confirming every detail. What's more, there are no pets of any sort, likely due to the lack of interest in anything lesser than bastards. He brushed off the emotions. Duval working himself up. An angered mind makes for sloppy work after all. I should be able to pull this off with nary a peep more an additional risk if only every job were like this. Tension slowly started to build as Victor reached the large gate. However easy this heist was going to be, it still wasn't without its risks. Paused briefly as he was about to start his climb, studying the gate. Surely not. Someone pushed the gate unlocked like it had been many years ago. They really think they're safe from all harm. A small chuckle escaped his lips as he entered the courtyard, slinking across it until he reached the front of the building itself. He stood still for a few moments as he gazed at the moonlit facade. The structure that once looked so imposing to the young fox was now just another target of his desires. He smiled as an intense wave of satisfaction overcame him. You're going to pay for everything at last, you rich bastards. Oh boy. Tasty. Oh my. The next day seemed to go by excruciatingly slowly as all manner of thoughts raced through Cedric's mind while he paced up and down Lysander's aunt's home. Was he really just going to leave everything behind? Then again, he didn't really have much to leave behind in the first place. Still, how did he know he was going to get along with Victor? What if something bad happened to them? Bennett's life's not an easy one, and he felt like he was definitely not cut out for it. At the same time, you never know what something's going to be like until you've tried. And Cedric couldn't help picture himself with Victor going on adventures together. Those weren't the only thoughts that crossed his mind, though. He thought back to what Victor had said and about his parents possibly the two of them might have been in a relationship. Much as Cedric tried to hide it, he really enjoyed that thought. He never been particularly interested in women, and just imagined he might be somewhat particular or fussy. But now he knew. He was attracted to men, and Victor was chief among them. It all made sense now. His teenage dreams about the fox, the closeness he felt to him, and of course the idea of wanting to run away with him. Along with the relief of finally realizing this about himself, however, came a less optimistic thought. Victor surely wouldn't feel the same way about him. He'd been somewhat vague about the subject the previous night and dropped it very quickly, which obviously pointed to him being slightly uncomfortable with the idea. Was the whole thing going to be worth it? Cedric had started packing a few essentials into a straw bag, and now he turned to look at where he'd laid it down. Maybe it would be better if he didn't get himself into trouble, if he dealt better with problems he was familiar with instead of looking for new ones. Yes, he concluded he should probably unpack everything and give the whole thing up. Cedric, there you are! Cedric jumped slightly as Lysander's voice interrupted his train of thoughts. What are you doing? What is going on? Never mind, I'm still deciding whether to go through with this or not. Lysander remained completely clueless. With what? Lyon's insistent tone began to irritate Cedric, and the thought of actually leaving once and for all started to seem more ideal. Lie, why don't we sit down for a moment so I can tell you everything? All right, although I do not understand why you've been so mysterious lately. But they both sat down on the couch on one of the windows as Cedric started thinking how he was going to say all this. But please promise me you'll hear me out. Yes, yes, as you wish. Okay, so you know I met that friend of mine the other day. Who, the criminal? His name is Victor. Cinder rolled his eyes. All right, Victor. They went looking for him again and found him. I went looking for him again after you and I found him. What? Please let me finish, Sly. Lion folded his arms grumpily. It took for a long time and I told him about the troubles I've been having lately. Did he tell you to pick purses or something? Cedric paused as anger began to grow. Sorry, do go on. He told me he's leaving the town this evening and elsewhere. And I think I might be going with him. Oh, he's angry. You what? I mean it. You're mad. You're completely insane. Who in their right mind would think of such a thing? This isn't a novel, Cedric. You can't. This is real life. You can't just run away with someone and leave all your troubles behind you, and with a criminal no less, a low-life thug who seems bent on following no matter what. Have you thought about that? Here I am, right in front of you, with a friend that's been trying to help you, whom you are ignoring completely. Helping me? Just how you been helping me? By being your usual spoiled self, by giving me a place to stay and thinking that's going to just solve my problems by magic? I wasn't going to say this, but now you've worked me up. I really don't like you, and I'm glad to get away from you and your self-centered, snobbish ways once and for all. Cedric raised his voice more with each word. I can't even fathom how much better my life could have been if I'd never met you in the first place. And maybe I left you and could find some other young man who can manipulate just like you did with me. Dare you treat me this way? It's about time I decided to live my life without your ever-present interfering, you selfish bastard! Well, the sounds followed. Cinder probably hadn't been expecting something so direct. But why? Why what? Cedric lowered his voice again as he looked away from Lysander with his head in his hands. Why leave with him, of all people? Because he's the only person that has honestly offered to help me out, because he's my closest friend. And because I love him more than I can tell. What, so this is your honeymoon or something? Lion chuckled at his own joke as Cedric remained silent, trying his best not to get up and strangle him. We were very close, Sly. And I think I might still have some feelings for him. He's done it now. Cedric immediately regretted saying so and quickly looked the other way. Feelings? Cinder seemed to be in complete shock. For a man, and a criminal too? Cedric stood and turned to pick up the sack he was now gravely unpacked. That's disgusting. Cedric, you're insane. Tell me it's not true. Oh, it's true, all right. Cody was starting to feel sort of cathartic satisfaction. He saw Lysander scurrying in his seat. Came to a halt in front of the couch Lana was still seated on. And don't pretend you're any better. I saw how nervous and uneasy you were during the kiss that we did at the tavern. It might have been slipped past the others, but I noticed. I think you should be asking yourself a few questions before judging me so rapidly. You're insane. You could be living a proper life right here, besides you're going to give up, going to leave up and leave everything. And why? Because you have a feeling you might like some common brute? Cedric ignored his comments, and as he now made his way to the door. How could you do this to me? Answer me! Reach the door and push it open. Fuck off, Lysander. Alright then, Cedric, enjoy your life of crime with your low-life boyfriend. But I'm warning you, should you or that scum ever raise a finger against me, there will be hell to pay. You are indebted to me, Cedric, and the moment you forget that will be your last. I will always collect what I'm owed, and owe you useless, vomit-inducing tail-raiser. He was already outside and had slammed the door behind him without bothering to listen to his former friend's rant. With a rapid pace, he made his way toward the town's outskirts. He knew it was still too early and that Victor wouldn't be there yet, but he didn't care. Just wanted to get away from everyone and everything, and this was his one chance to do so. Back inside, Lysander sat, so what seemed like an eternity as his mind was racing after what had happened with Cedric. Then he picked up a candlestick from the table and slammed it on the floor to brine rage. Oh no, poor baby, gonna cry? Gonna piss your pants? Maybe shit and cum? Why? Why? How could you do this to me, Cedric? Oh my god, you fucking pathetic person. As he groaned as he sat back down. After all I've done for you, why do I care so fucking much? And his fingers to his hair as he gazed emptily before him. Why did he care? Cedric was just some rich idiot after all, but there was just something about him. Something that always interested Lysander. Lion had never been able to explain what it was or how it happened, but he became very fond of the coyote. Too fond. What's wrong with me? At night, when they first came across Victor, Lysander had left Cedric at the bandit's mercy because he was worried for his own safety first and foremost. He had thought of Cedric incessantly since then, hoping he would be alright, and half hoping he would never come back, so that the lion could just forget about him. And the fact he'd been thinking so much about this angered him even more. And now he just found out Cedric was gay and had feelings for someone else. A strange mix of emotions. Relief at discovering Cedric's sexuality, anger at the fact he had to consider he himself might also like men, but most of all, jealousy. Jealousy at the thought of Cedric running off with someone else and with a common thief, no less. You think you're doing the right thing, don't you, you fool? When you could still be here leading a safer and better life with me. I would be so good to you. Oh my god, you fucking pathetic piece of shit. Lysander got up from where he was sitting, picked up his walking stick, and marched down toward the door, flinging it open and quickly running downstairs. His aunt's maid, Nancy, was the only other person in the building. She heard her footsteps and stepped out of the kitchen to see what all the commotion was about. Oh, Master Lysander, it's you. Is everything all right? Lysander came to a sudden as he fixed his gaze on her for a moment. You feeling ill? Many thoughts whizzed through his head, too many. He felt he couldn't keep up, and it was all Cedric's fault. And now this common maid was inquiring stupidly how he felt. She had no idea what was going on, and yet asking. And he thought about asking it would somehow help. Lysander felt blind rage build up inside him. Then he suddenly grabbed his stick with both hands and swung in her direction, just narrowly missing her head with the bronze carving. She screamed right out of the room, heading outside in the direction of the stables. Get back here and do as I say! Oh boy, fucking hell. Lysander furiously followed, reaching the stables in a matter of seconds. Looked around, trying to find where she was hiding, as if he were a wild animal hunting for prey. A few seconds later, he'd already forgotten about her. Something else caught his eye. Noticed his horse nearby and made his way to the spot where he'd left it. You'll be back, Cedric, you'll be back. Oh my god. The fuck. You'll be back like before. Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah, this fucking piece of shit. Fucking hell. Mounted his steed and rode off at full tilt, quickly vanishing from sight, leaving only a cloud of dust behind him. Cedric was sitting under his... This is fucking just... Oh my god. I can't get over the fact that they've literally done, like, art. It's so cool. Cedric had been sitting under a tree just outside of the town for a few hours. He had seen no one pass by during this whole time, and had managed to have a good cry about the whole situation. After that, he'd soon felt better and was quietly humming to himself as the sun sank below the horizon and the stars were starting to decorate the sky. As he finished humming, he heard some footsteps nearby. Hey, Cedric. Cedric smiled as he turned towards Victor. You alright? Yeah, I'm fine. I packed some stuff I might need, and then my friend... former friend at the Sander. See the prick you were telling me about? That's him. Well, as far as I can tell, it's good you finally got him out of your life. So, are you sure about this? About coming with me? Sure as I can possibly be. You might not enjoy it very much, especially at first, and you might not be ready for much action yet, but that will come with time. I'll tough you up and turn you into a real bandit, I promise. Cedric laughed. You've done my best, Vi. That's my boy. My boy. He hugged Cedric, taking him completely by surprise. Your company means the world to me. I'm so happy we crossed paths again after all these years. I mean it. I'm happy to be here with you. Two remained still a few seconds, they kept hugging. Then Victor let go and turned around to face the road nearby. I think we'd better be going. Follow me. Fox began heading down the road, and Cedric walked along beside him. His eye was high, and both of them seemed to be looking forward to spending the next few days together. Cedric allowed himself to fall behind from him to look back at his old home. He'd lived his whole life here, both happy and sad, exciting and terrifying. It was hard thinking about everything that everyone he'd leave behind. Was he really doing the right thing here? The longer he gazed upon the town, the more doubts began to creep in. However, he began to realize that, when he thought back on it all, the happiest moments he'd had were with Victor. When they'd reconnected that fateful night was the first time in as long as he could remember that he felt hopeful. Cedric turned back to Victor as he walked, and his doubts vanished, any fears fleeing from his mind at the sight of his old friend. If there was any chance at a life that would make him happy, it was with the fox. Clearly, Cody caught up so they could walk side by side. And soon the night landscape became quiet once again as the two friends' shapes faded out of sight, leaving the town they both lived in their whole lives behind at last. Wow. Fucking wow. Oh, who are these people? Alex? Huh, okay. Hello, thank you for reading this first build of Project New Moon's A Fall from Grace. This novel is written by, composed and illustrated by the project developer Alex, with Grace as main coder, music programmer, and story designer. Visual novel's entire plot, start to finish, was conceived on 2 voice calls between Grace and myself back in around March. Huh. Okay, that's cute. Huh. That, uh, well, thanks for the, little thing there. And, oh, okay. Huh. But, like, neat. Anyway, um, thanks for watching the video, guys. Overall, this VN, this visual novel, has been really fucking well made. I mean, the art alone, just the art style and the writing alone are enough to sell me, but the soundtrack as well. That's also really good. The characters are all really expertly written, even the really minor ones. Although I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of Lysander, I'm just gonna be honest, that fucking piece of shit is gonna pop up sooner or later. It's. Honestly, I'm having a lot of fun with this. So, if you enjoyed this video, do whatever the fuck you want to do, I guess. Like it, whatever, I don't care. I really don't. But definitely support these people because they deserve it. Do whatever you can to support them because this shit's really fucking good. Anyway, see you next time, I guess, and yeah.